Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Enlightened Path. I'm your host, Hadassah Headley. I'm a life coach, I'm a hypnotherapist, and your guide on this sacred journey of awakening. Now, today's episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into something that we have all experienced but often struggle to understand. After requesting what to cover next, many persons reached out and they were talking about relationship issues. So today's topic in a nutshell is why are relationships so difficult? But we're not taking the usual route today. No psychological breakdowns, no textbook theories. We are tapping into the spiritual truth behind human connection. So whether you're in a relationship, you're healing from one, or just simply curious about why love can feel so challenging, this episode is for you. So let's begin with the bold spiritual truth, and that is relationships in general are not meant to make us happy. They are meant to make us whole. There is also a book for those individuals that are married that is called Sacred Marriage. I'm going to put a link to that book in the description and you can have a look at it. And the author boldly stated marriage wasn't meant to make you happy, it was meant to make you holy. But from a spiritual perspective, we don't enter relationships to complete us. As you know, we would have watched movies and Hollywood would like to make us to believe that, there's someone who's coming to make us feel whole. My other half, this person is going to make me feel so complete. That is not true. We don't enter relationships for people to complete us. We basically enter relationship for a few reasons, primarily to grow, to heal, and to remember who we are, which in itself is love. Now, every single soul that we encounter plays a critical role in our spiritual curriculum. So some souls come to teach us joy, others come to teach us boundaries. Some even awaken our deepest love that we have inside. Others simply just trigger our deepest wounds. And all of it, yes, all of it is sacred. You may not believe this, but the person that treated you poorly may have been precisely what you needed for you to start honoring yourself. Now, this concept is explored beautifully in the book. This is one of my favorite books. I'm like, you guys know I'm into books. So when I started my journey to learn about who I am, I ran into a book, Conversations with God by Donald Neil Walsh. I'll also put that in the description as well for you. And in the book, he claimed that God said, I have sent you nothing but angels. And then he asked, are you saying even the ones who broke our hearts? Then God was like, yes, especially them. This makes a lot of sense to me because those individuals who really hurt us, to be honest, they help us to grow and learn more about ourselves than anyone else. Many of us, like myself, I learned a lot of who I am through pain, right? But I just want to talk a little bit about something that will help to bring my point together. Have you ever heard about soul contracts or soul ties? If this isn't something that you've ever looked into, maybe it's time for you to just do some reading on it, if that is something you're interested in, of course. Now, from what I've learned about the topic is that before we incarnate, our soul created what is called contracts or agreements. That is with other souls to meet. Sometimes we meet somebody and we have this feeling, wait, I feel like I've known this person before, like we have met before. Why does it feel so familiar? Fact check. Maybe you have met them before, right? Right. So you agree on a soul level to meet, and even the challenges that you have. And sometimes you may even agree that this is how you're going to support each other. And sometimes it can be in a negative way because the soul needs contrast to progress. So imagine this. Your ex, the person that you're no longer in a relationship with, wasn't just your ex. They were your mirror. They reflected the parts of you that needed healing. Maybe they awakened your self-worth, even through pain. All right. So maybe they taught you what unconditional love looks like by first showing you what it doesn't look like. Because this is a place of duality. Earth is the place where duality exists. And contrast is the nature of this existence. So we learn what we want by experiencing what we don't want. So in the book, The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, it talks about the idea of soul evolution. And he explains that authentic power comes not from controlling others, which is what we believe that we have to do in some relationships, not all, but from aligning your personality with your soul's purpose. And sometimes the fastest way to do that is through contrast of the self. You learn about who you are by experiencing what you are not. So now that we have the background out of the way, now let's talk about the real battle in relationships and why it is challenging. So when we go into a relationship, we go into relationship with the wrong perspective. Sometimes we're going for the wrong reasons as well. It might just be something very physical. You see the person and they look attractive and you go into a relationship with them. You like them or you feel connected to them. And then you go into a relationship with that person. So unless the connection with the person is deep enough, grounded enough to sustain a relationship, it will not work out. And when you go into a relationship, many people develop a I versus them perspective when things are not going right. So to be brutally honest, it's never a you versus them. It's never that. So every time you're in a position where you feel like it's you versus them, it's your ego. Pretty much look at it as it's your ego versus your higher self. Now, let me just explain a little bit when I say higher self, what I mean, because I'm not sure how much of you are aware of it. So it's the aspect of the self that is unified, that is loving and understand oneness. Because of the duality, there's good and there's evil. All right, there's right and there's wrong, there's fair and there's love. That is the separation that we have as when we enter physicality, right? The higher self is the side of you, the aspect of you that has all the good aspects. We could say on a soul level, you are loving, you are understanding, and you know that there is no separation, right? This is the aspect of the self as well that knows that we come from the same source. If I'm to hate you, it's pretty much me hating myself. The ego is the enemy of relationships. So the ego always wants to be right. The higher self wants to be at peace. This is why you find that struggle and that imbalance in the relationship. Ego says as well that they need to change. They have a problem. They need to change. The higher self says, what part of me is invited to grow? So you have to ask the right question. You have to spend some time with yourself to understand what it is exactly you're looking to get out of this situation. Instead of blaming or throwing the responsibility on somebody else, why not have me look at myself and see, instead of what they're supposed to do, let me look at myself and see what is it I need to learn from this situation, because all relationships are beneficial. Now, this shift in awareness is everything. You first have to take your eyes off of the person, look at the experience that you're having and see which parts of you needs growing, which parts of you need work. So Whenever a relationship feels difficult, it's often because we're operating from the ego. A lot of times we're seeking validation. We put our partner in a position to always having to validate us. We want to control them, or we want some form of safety outside of ourselves. We look to that person for them to provide that safety, not knowing unconsciously that we are already enough. Now, pain comes when we want someone to become what they are not. Imagine you're trying to pull somebody to fit them and mold them to something that you are not, to soothe and ease the egoic aspect of you, right? And that is what happens in a lot of relationships. That is why it's not working out. We fail to accept the person for who they are. In that way, we can love them unconditionally. Other than that, we will have that push-pull, that fight with the ego and the higher self, because you're going to love them. That love will always want to forgive them, but the ego is saying, yes, but you have to be like this first for me to accept you. But the spiritual path reminds us that everything that we seek is already within. And to access the part of you, this is where mindfulness, meditation, and spiritual practices like what was spoken about in the Course of Miracles come in. I'm going to put a link to that book in the description as well. Now, this course teaches that every act is either a call for love or an expression of it. This one, they even went on further to say that every single action is motivated by either love or fear. And many times relationship issues that we see arising result from fear. And here's why. Because many of us hold on to the illusion that we need someone to complete us. And when we realize that they are incapable of doing that, you come to the conclusion that something is wrong with them, right? And the search continues. Mind you, maybe there are situations where you do need to leave that relationship because you have learned a lesson and you would have outgrown that person. But when you decide to do that, please ensure that you do it out of love and not hate. Thank them for the role that they play and just move on completely. Now, I want to talk about a concept that I've learned about relationships, and it's called the concept is called karmic relationships and cycles. So ever feel like you keep attracting the same kind of person, just in a different body? Now, I witnessed this in my whole life, and I say whole life because when I look back at that person, I don't even recognize who she was, you know. I also witnessed this when I am coaching clients who have relationship issues. Now, this is not a coincidence, it's karma, or more precisely put, it's a karmic pattern. Stay with me. So until the lesson is learned, the pattern repeats. It repeats because they're not learning their lessons. So relationships are often like the stage where karma plays out of unfinished business. It could either be from past lifetimes or in this current lifetime where wounds have been developed and you keep not addressing the wounds. So you attract partner at the level of your pain, and as a result you feel they come into your life so they can help you to heal that wound, but you're looking at them as if they're messed up and something is wrong with them. It's all about a shift in perspective. Don't forget, nobody is here to make you complete. You are enough. But there's a blessing in this, guys. You don't need to suffer to break the cycle. All you need to do is to become aware. Be mindful of what is happening. Reflect on your relationships and just awaken your mind, body, and soul to what is happening. So when you pause and ask yourself, in the relationship, in the situation, what am I meant to learn here? Instead of blaming them, they can be wrong. It doesn't matter who's wrong and who's right. But you need to look at yourself, because everybody is a mirror to you. And you can ask yourself, what am I meant to learn here? What am I supposed to do in this situation? And you actually activate the alchemy of spiritual transformation. But first, you need to ask yourself the questions. What am I supposed to learn in this relationship? Forget about them completely. They are on their own journey, learning their own lessons. Forget about them. You focus on yourself because they are there for a reason, and it's for you to grow, it's for you to heal, and it's also for you to learn. So why are relationships difficult? Well, duh, because they're your greatest teachers. Relationships with others teach you things, not just romantic relationship, but friendships as well. They teach you things about yourself. There's aspect about you that needs healing. So as a result, these persons that come into your life, they help you to grow. All right? And because they strip away the illusion of who we think we are. And when we strip away the illusion of who we think we are, we start to work on the truest version of ourselves that actually needs the work. Relationship help us to heal, they help us to grow, and they help us to become better versions of ourselves. Remember that every single time it hurts, it's a doorway. Every single conflict that you have is a learning opportunity. And every heartbreak that you get from someone carries a hidden gift. But it all starts with you being in a place of receiving, knowing that everything that is happening is for my highest good and everything is working out for me. So if today's episode starts something in you, I invite you to reflect on a few journal prompts that I prepared for you. I want to ask you to take a pen and a paper, and I want you to sit with yourself. And the first question you're going to ask is, what is one lesson that my past relationship was trying to teach me? This might be a good thing for you to do, to reflect, to ensure that you are not bringing that trauma over into your current relationship. And also you can ask yourself, how can I show up more from my higher self and less of my ego? This can be done through prayer, by communicating with God and having that relationship so that you know when you are out of alignment, because you will feel it. Also, you can ask yourself, who have I unconsciously cast as my enemies and who may be my teacher? Those persons that you unconsciously cast as, this is a terrible person, this is an evil person, they may just be helping you along your journey. They may not be as bad as you may think that they are. I want you to share your thoughts in the comments, and also to remember to share it with a friend, or you can message me privately if you need support. Share it with someone you love, and let's spread all the healing through awareness. You're not alone. You're always guided. You're always loved. You're always taken care of. So embrace the people that come into your life. And once again, thank you for staying true to the end. See you next week on another episode of the Enlightened Path. I love you guys so much. Do take care.